Florida State is expected to do some ridiculous things this season. Their leader, Jordan Travis, is one of the focal points of college football this year, and he currently has the second best odds to win the Heisman Trophy. But all of that was legitimately moments away from never happening. If you're a Jordan Travis fan or a Florida State fan, you're lucky right now, and you probably need to thank the man above because this story is nuts. Jordan Travis transferred to Florida State after playing his first year at Louisville. He saw action in 3 games there. He tossed both a touchdown and an interception, and he redshirted. Makes sense for a true freshman. But things were not all sunshine and roses when he got to Tallahassee. He entered the program at its lowest point in the last 40 years. Florida State was in the midst of a regime that frankly just wasn't ready for that job. Willie Taggart and the Seminoles had just missed a bowl for the first time in decades, breaking the longest streak in NCAA history. And the Seminoles were reeling, and the culture in Tallahassee might have been the worst part. It was probably the worst the team had ever seen. Jordan Travis came in for the 2019 season, Taggart's second year, and the staff just did not trust him to throw the ball at all. He had 11 passes that year. He was only able to run the ball 23 times, and he scored 3 of touchdowns in those 23 carries on the ground. But the talent that we see here today was there, but the belief wasn't. Taggart and company just didn't believe that JT13 could be a quarterback, and it caused Jordan's confidence to fade as well. As he said in the past, and as it was mentioned in David Hale's article for ESPN that came out today, which we'll link in the description, he nearly quit football. I had zero confidence, Travis said. The previous staff didn't believe in me, and I didn't think this staff would either. But then something huge happened. Florida State hired Mike Norvell, and he brought along Kenny Dillingham as his offensive coordinator. Jordan Travis didn't think that this current staff would believe in him, but he admitted that he was wrong about that. And he told that to David Hale again in that article, which I recommend that you go and read. Dillingham says Jordan needed to do some things physically, needed to get a little bit better reading defenses, but that Dillingham's greatest challenge was to get back into Jordan Travis's head and rewire the circuits that were telling him that JT13 wasn't cut out to play quarterback at FSU. Through a few different ways, which Hale illustrates and are really interesting to see, Dillingham finally broke through to Travis, and the belief and confidence was finally there. What happened next was pretty remarkable, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Let me give a quick plug to Garnet and Gold. Really quick one today, but you guys know them. We shout them out all the time. GarnetandGold.com. Season is less than 40 days away. You need to make sure that you're shopping at GarnetandGold.com for all of your FSU athletic wear and apparel. Use code NOSLAW, NOSLAW, to get 15% off of your order. Get it before we kick off against LSU. In 2020, with Mike Norvell and company here at the helm, Jordan was able to come back and lead a comeback against a pretty bad opponent, but went out and got his first win. Through some other games, had some ups and downs, was able to lead a comeback, a win against number 5 UNC, where the Noles were phenomenal in that game. You'll never forget the gif of his brother Devin, who played baseball here, dancing in the stands. Obviously, COVID restrictions during that game, but things started to turn around. In 2021, Jordan battled through some injuries at the beginning of the season, but he finished the year with promise, and there was a lot of hope and optimism for the future. None of us expected what came in 2022. Norvell may have, Brendan Sonnone of Noles 247 may have, but even they might admit that Jordan even exceeded their expectations. And he was on an absolutely different level in 2022. He was throwing guys open. We're showing you highlights right now of what he was able to do in so many games. People had questions about his health and his injury status and things of that nature. He started all 12 games, missed about a half against Louisville, and then missed several other second halves just because of how dominant Florida State was down the stretch. And the hype and expectation for 2023 from what we could get from Jordan Travis are absolutely off the charts. Mike Norvell has gone on record multiple times and said that the most improved player from 2022 to 2023 has been Jordan Travis. We did an entire video on this, but if that is the truth, the rest of college football is in for an entire world of hurt. Because if Jordan Travis is the most improved player of the 85 scholarship guys on this roster, the ceiling just doesn't exist. There is no ceiling. I would anticipate that if Mike Norvell's telling the truth there, Florida State will have a member representing their squad in New York City for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. But what if Dillingham and Norvell and the staff at that time didn't believe in him? What if their confidence, or what if they weren't able to get through to him? What if their confidence wasn't at the level that it is or was at that time? What if Jordan Travis would have quit football at that moment? Well, I'd venture to say that Mike Norvell and his staff probably wouldn't still be in Tallahassee at this moment. Without Jordan and Norvell, we probably wouldn't be looking forward to the LSU game nearly as much as we are right now. In fact, I think we might be kind of worried about that matchup. And I know that we're Seminoles and unconquered, and there's a lot of pride, but I think there's probably a pretty good chance that we'd be dreading that game if we were an unranked team without Jordan Travis and Mike Norvell and Jared Verse and the cast of characters that we have now on this roster. Jordan Travis went from a quarterback who wanted to quit the sport to a guy who is likely going to be in New York City for the Heisman Trophy ceremony in December. We are thankful that something changed. And again, I think it has everything to do with FSU's culture. We talk about culture and we talk about guys wanting to be here at FSU, but talk is cheap. What this staff has put on paper and what they have put in that locker room, the proof is in the pudding. And it is different. Norvell has always had a phenomenal offensive mind. I don't think anyone ever doubted that. I think people knew that when he was at Memphis. He's one of the top offensive minds in the country. But folks, what people wondered about was, could he clean up the mess that was left behind? We legitimately had a Heisman Trophy type quarterback waiting in the wings, and the staff at FSU couldn't see it. But how lucky and blessed, or whatever word you want to use there, the new staff, Norvell and company, could see it. And how thankful we should be that they did end up at Florida State. Want to know the craziest part of all of this is that this isn't the only time that this has happened. Luke Kromenhoek, somebody we've chatted with here recently and got a chance to chat with his parents again last night. Luke Kromenhoek was a 0-star recruit who had never played quarterback before. Now, very different situation. I don't know that Luke struggled with the confidence factor that Jordan did. I know this is very different situations, but see the similarities? Mike Norvell saw him and saw what Luke could potentially bring to the table and offered him when he was an unranked 0-star recruit. And where is he just 2 years later? He's the number 3 quarterback in the country with a huge senior season upcoming to potentially move up even more. As we spoke with Charles Power of On3 a few weeks ago, that potential is definitely there. They're talking about Luke as having the greatest pro potential of any quarterback in this class. Mike Norvell saw it 2 years ago before anyone else did. Mike Norvell's staff saw a Heisman Trophy candidate before anyone else did. When other staffs and other rosters didn't see it, Norvell and Dillingham and the culture and the staff at Florida State did. Dillingham commented to Jordan's dad that he would be a guy that could win a Heisman at one point. In Hale's article, I read that. And they kind of laughed at it because it seemed crazy for a kid that had come in and thrown 6 passes or had 6 completions in his 11 passes in just the year before. But obviously, though these situations are different, it shows something massive. Norvell's eye for talent and his belief in his guy are unreal. There's revisionist history out there that says that Norvell brought Mackenzie Milton in to start over Jordan Travis. And I think he brought him in to push him. And that's why in the Notre Dame game, Jordan Travis did start. Now he went down with an injury and he didn't play the next week against Jacksonville State. And, you know, Milton did have to step in there. But Jordan has always been Mike's guy. And Luke is Mike's guy for the future. I know that Brock and AJ and others are on this roster as well. But when you look at the similarities between Jordan and Luke, they're pretty stark. We're thankful to have Norvell and Tally. And if you're not, you should be. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. Are there things that he needs to and can improve on? Of course. But I'll tell you that there are a lot of programs out there that wish they had a coach like Mike Norvell. If you drown out the noise, I saw Josh Pate ask about this. If you drown out the noise from the Canes and Gators, which your rivals are going to talk crap about your coach no matter who it is. I'm sure they do that about Bobby too. I'm sure that we would do that about Spurrier or Jimmy Johnson or whatever. That's just what's going to happen. But if you drown out that noise and listen to what everyone else is saying in the country, there are a lot of teams that wish Mike Norvell was their head coach. You could list 5 or 10 that are pretty happy with their situation right now currently. But outside of that, just about everybody in the country would probably pick to upgrade. I'll tell you this, there are rivals that we just mentioned whose coaches are not going to get anywhere close to winning 10 games in year 3, and they're certainly not going to be contenders for the national championship or the Heisman Trophy in year 4, that they're going to be feeling the same way pretty soon. They're not going to say it, they're not going to put it out there into the ethos, but they will feel that way. And that will be a sweet moment for us to watch. The guy that we believed in, the guy that we hoped could turn it around, could he be that guy? Well, the answer is pretty clear right now, but everyone else will have to have that same opinion here soon. We talked about Luke Kromenhoek a little bit, and he's a phenomenal young man that I've gotten a chance to know a little bit through some interviews and some interactions, and he's really, really impressive. Florida State fans, if you're not super into recruiting, he's somebody that you're going to hear that name over and over and over again. And hopefully that's somebody that you're encouraged to see their senior season and then what they do for Florida State when they are on campus. But we spoke with him about his official visit. We went pretty in depth there. If you missed that video, you can click right here to get caught up and check it all out.